Welcome to this edition of Ethical Sustainable Investment News and Analysis to Profit By. I'm Ron Robbins, an ethical investing pioneer for over 40 years, quoted in the Wall Street Journal, MarketWatch, the Globe and Mail, and numerous other media, and founder of the highly respected global ethical sustainable investing information website, Investing for the Soul. And please listen to my disclaimer statement at the end of this podcast. Now enjoy this podcast. Hello, Ron Robbins here. Welcome to podcast episode 24 for January 31st, 2020, titled Top Sustainable Companies, Water Stocks and More. Presented by Investing for the Soul. Investingforthesoul.com is your site for vital global ethical and sustainable investing news, commentary, information, and resources. Remember that you can find a full transcript, links to content, including stock symbols, and bonus material at this episode's podcast page located at investingforthesoul.com/podcasts. And Google any terms that are unfamiliar to you. Now to this podcast. I'm going to lead this episode with two great new top sustainable companies lists. The first one is Corporate Knights 2020 Global 100 Ranking. This is an annual favorite of mine. Their top 5 sustainable companies are Ørsted A/S in wholesale power, Denmark, CHR Hansen Holdings A/S, engaged in food and other chemical agents, also Denmark, Neste OJ, not sure if I pronounced that correctly, but anyway, they're in petroleum refineries in Finland, Cisco Systems Inc., communications equipment, United States, Autodesk Inc., software, United States. Now you can see the full list by going to the link on this episode's web page. The second compilation of top sustainable companies is CDP's 179 company A list. About this list, CDP says its annual A list names the world's most pioneering companies leading on environmental transparency and performance. This year, we recognize more than 170 corporates as the leaders acting to address climate risks and build our future zero-carbon economy, one that works for both people and planet." End quote. CDP doesn't actually give them a ranking. They just list who they feel are the companies that meet their criteria. For a link to the full list, go to this episode's webpage at investingforthesoul.com/podcasts. Incidentally, these top sustainable company lists only provide rankings according to various sustainability criteria. They don't rate the companies as to whether their stocks are worth buying. To do that, you can obviously go to the research section of your broker's site, ask an advisor, or also check out financial analysts' opinions on the many free online sites. The best ones I found are Yahoo Finance, Reuters, MarketBeat, NASDAQ Analyst Stock Recommendations, and TipRanks. My next piece is by Todd Schreiber on the Investor Place site titled 7 Socially Responsible ETFs to Buy in 2020. I'm going to see what his picks are and follow with a quote by him on each company. The first one, Van Eck Vector's Green Bond ETF, is comprised of US dollar denominated green bonds that are issued to finance environmentally friendly projects and includes bonds issued by supranational, government and corporate issuers globally. The second one, Nuveen ESG Large Cap Growth ETF. This socially responsible ETF dispels the notion that virtuous investing can be a drag on returns. Over the past year, the Nuveen ESG Large Cap Growth ETF has outpaced the S&P 500 Growth Index by nearly 1,000 basis points. 3. Xtracker's S&P 500 ESG ETF. The rookie ETF is notable for at least two reasons, albeit superficially. First, it is the first ETF to track the S&P 500 ESG Index. Second, it has amassed $110 million in assets since inception, a very impressive start. At just 0.11% per year, the Xtracker's S&P 500 ESG ETF is one of the most cost-effective funds in the socially responsible category. Now my comment. However, be aware that this ETF is rather unbalanced in that it's heavily weighted with tech stocks. For many investors, that's fine. Tech stocks have been doing great, but not for all market conditions. Now back to quoting Mr. Schreiber. 4. Global X Conscious Companies ETF follows the Consinity Conscious Companies Index, and that Global X says it offers exposure to companies achieving positive outcomes for 5 key stakeholders: customers, suppliers, stock and debt holders, local communities, and notably employees. 5. Inspire Corporate Bond Impact ETF. Inspire offers a broad suite of faith-based ETFs, with this bond fund being the first corporate ETF dedicated to Christian values. And according to the issuer, it's donating a portion of fees to support Christian ministry projects such as clean water wells, refugee relief efforts, Bible distribution, and other worthy causes. 6. The Nuveen ESG High Yield Corporate Bond ETF. Applying virtuous filters to high yield bonds can help investors reduce and avoid trouble spots. It's also the first socially responsible ETF in the high yield category. 7. Van Eck Vector's Low Carbon Energy ETF. With its memorable ticker and significant Tesla exposure, this fund is a broad-based play on the soaring alternative energy industry. End quotes. Now, if you're looking specifically for more low-carbon investments, Tom Leedon offers more picks with his article Making the Low-Carbon Call with ETFs at ETF Trends. He recommends iShares MSCI ACWI Low Carbon Target ETF and the SPDR, that's SPDR MSCI ACWI Low Carbon Target ETF. Now we turn our attention from ESG ETFs to individual ESG stocks. This article is titled 5 ESG Stocks to Buy as Climate Risk Takes Center Stage by Zacks Equity Research, appearing on Yahoo Finance. Here are the 5 stocks by Zacks, quoting directly from the article. 1. Applied Materials Inc. provides manufacturing equipment, services, and software to the semiconductor, display, and related industries. The company's expected earnings growth rate for the current year is 24%. 2. Keysight Technologies Inc. provides electronic design and test solutions to commercial communications, networking, aerospace, defense and government, automotive, energy, semiconductor, electronic, and education industries. This Zacks ranked number 1 company. Expected earnings growth rate for the current year is nearly 10%. 3. NVIDIA Corporation operates as a visual computing company that offers processors which include GeForce for PC gaming, GeForce Now for cloud-based game streaming services, and much more. The company's expected earnings growth rate for the fiscal fourth quarter is more than 100%. 4. The Procter & Gamble Company provides a range of beauty, grooming, healthcare, fabric and home care, and baby, feminine, and family care products. The company is constantly working toward restricting microfiber release. Every load of washing releases millions of microfibers that are flushed down the drain and gradually ends up in beaches and oceans where they remain for years and disturb sea creatures' food chain. Procter & Gamble has an expected earnings growth rate of 9.3% for the current year. And 5. General Mills, Inc. manufactures and markets branded consumer products. Among the many sustainable initiatives of the company, its Cheerios brand uses regenerative agriculture and organic farming to source ingredients for products including the legacy cereal brand. The company's expected earnings growth rate for the current year is 5.3%. End quotes. Zacks is proving to be a good source of recommendations. Getting increasing attention among ethical and sustainable investors are water stocks. So it's timely that Deborah Fiakas wrote a piece titled Water Stocks in the Americas. There she reviews what she believes to be the best water stocks operating in the Americas. Ms. Fiakas writes about Consolidated Water, American Water Works, and Global Water Resources. However, she includes a chart with 4 more companies. Best to go to her article to read her insights into this industry and its key players. The link, again, is on this episode's page at investingforthesoul.com/podcasts. Now for my Canadian listeners. My great colleague Toby Heaps at Corporate Knights has just published The Ultimate Guide to Responsible Investing. Mr. Heaps says that, quote, we ranked over 700 mutual funds and ETFs through a sustainability lens. Here are the top scorers, end quote. Also, a regular on this podcast, Tim Nash, another insightful analyst, has published the 2019 Eco Fund ranking of his top Canadian funds. His article is also on the Corporate Knights site. Again, for links to these articles, go to this episode's podcast page. For UK ethical and sustainable investors, there's the Interactive Investors site. It's a terrific site for you, which, they say, quote, have identified more than 140 ethical investment options available on our platform, end quote. Now, not only do they have all that information and data, but the site takes you through step by step to locate the investment option that best matches your personal values. Again, the link to the key page on their site is on this episode's podcast page. Well, these are my top news stories and tips for ethical and sustainable investors over the past 2 weeks. And to get all the links, stock symbols and more, or to read the transcript of this podcast and with additional information too, please go to investingforthesoul.com/podcasts and scroll down to this episode. Also, be sure to click the like and subscribe buttons in iTunes, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you download or listen to this podcast. And please click the share buttons to share this podcast with your friends and family. That way you can help promote not only this podcast, but ethical and sustainable investing globally. So let's help create a better world with our investments. Contact me if you have any questions. Thank you for listening. Talk to you again on February 14th. Now that's a special day, eh? Bye for now. Learn how to create a simple portfolio reflecting your personal values by taking my 1-hour tutorial. Go to investingforthesoul.com/podcasts and click the link in the right-hand column for my DIY Ethical Sustainable Investing Pays tutorial. Now, I'll mention in the podcast if I have any direct interest or holdings in companies or securities I'm talking about. Furthermore, any news, opinions, analysis, or other information offered by myself, as well as references and information to or from other external sources in this podcast, is provided as general market information and should not be relied upon and thus does not constitute investment advice. Investors should consult their own licensed investment professional before making investments. Also, I will not accept liability for any loss or damage, including without limitation any loss of profit, which may arise directly or indirectly from use of or reliance on information in this podcast. Do contact me at ronr@investingforthesoul.com. Signing off, this is Ron Robbins.